Hey, Joe Walsh here. Do you get it yet? We are a divided country, irreparably so. We'll talk about it when Freedom returns at 5.
Good morning, Dan and Amy, and good piece recently in the Wall Street Journal from our friend Peter Berkowitz, writes about higher ed. What's the point of a liberal education? Don't ask the Ivy League. Yeah, I know. That's why you've got Ivy League professors calling for the Ivy League to be defunded. Professor, she's wait, where's the Professor Wax? Amy Wax's, was she Penn Law? Yeah, she had an excellent piece, and of course suffered for it. Survey out from the Annenberg Public Policy Center, 1,000 American adults, finds 1 in 4 can name all 3 branches of government. Not details, meaning they can name executive, legislative, judicial. Right. 1 in 4 Americans. So
that's pretty sad.
If you're not, if there's no civic education, if there's no classical knowledge that's possessed, then number one, you're not going to be a particularly good thinker or communicator, and number two, you're going to lose a sense of the uniqueness of America, the idea of America, this experiment in self-governance, and thus potentially you're on the road to Hayek serfdom because you don't understand what institutions should be protected and why. So for more on this topic, we're pleased to be joined by the aforesaid columnist, author, and senior fellow for the Hoover Institution, Peter Berkowitz. Peter, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
So I note from your piece you recently reviewed some of the course listings at all the blue chip institutions of higher ed, Harvard, Princeton, Stanford, University of Chicago, Yale, and others. And what did you find?
I find that they offer virtually no courses on what it means to be a liberally educated person. You know, they have, when the subject comes up, there'll be a course about college and immigration, college and inequality, college and multiculturalism, college and gender. But virtually you can't find anywhere at the colleges, including in mission statements from the universities and colleges, what it is, what it means to be a liberally educated person, what the content of a liberal education is.
And in the political science departments, what are we offering?
In the political science departments, we came up with nothing, zilch, nada.
Really?
Yeah, nothing. You would think, now this is today it's a big political question and economic question, because we're talking about institutions through which tens of billions of federal dollars, probably even more than that, flow through student loans, through federal research funds, through incredible tax breaks. We're speaking now of not only public universities, but private universities. So the political significance of our universities, hugely important, but not a topic that attracts the attention of students of politics at our universities.
Oh, well, then what is college and what's it for?
Excellent question. If you look at what colleges are actually interested in teaching, especially, look, in the natural sciences, they still teach natural sciences. If you sign up for a class in mathematics, you're going to learn mathematics. A class in engineering, you're going to learn engineering. So the problem is when you sign up for classes in the humanities and social sciences, and this has been true for a long time, you're more likely to be confronted with a framework, a progressive framework, presented as the truth of the matter, which guides your questions and determines your answers to the problems that arise, whether in the humanities or social sciences.
So should we advise parents to save $250,000 and not send Johnny off to the Ivy League or other institutions, including my alma mater, Northwestern, which I always caution people against?
Well, you know, that's a huge and dramatic step, because a college degree is still an important credential for moving ahead in political society. And I should make clear that all of our great colleges and universities, if you're careful enough, if you're vigilant enough, if you can get good guidance from a parent or a trusted elder, you should be able to stitch together 4 years of good, even inspiring classes. The problem is that our colleges and universities rarely give you such guidance. And we should not be counting on the colleges and universities to reform themselves. They've had a lot of time to do it. They haven't. I'm in favor of more initiatives from the private sector to remind universities of what liberal education really looks like.
You mean like
that?
heterodoxy? What's the heterodox? Is that what
Yes,
Heights organization is, right?
absolutely. Heterodox Academy. Yes, that's one excellent example. A group of professors. I'm not sure how many they have now. But might be even 1,000 from across the country, who are dedicated to the view that the purpose of liberal education is, in part, to expose students to a variety of opinions and encourage students to confront and debate these opinions. That's good. I'm in favor of organizations like the Federalist Society and the Alexander Hamilton Society. Of course, these they're student-run organizations. They're thought of as conservative. What do they do on campus, though? They actually stage debates
Right.
between left-wing and right-wing views. That, it seems to me, is what colleges should be doing, but without these organizations, barely do.
Well, then, what are your thoughts when the right side's voice can't be heard at places such as Berkeley and other universities?
Well, this, of course, is an absolute disgrace to, again, the irony is liberal education. We can't make progress in understanding. We can't make progress in understanding the principles on which this country is founded unless we have a serious debate about them. And I worry very much about an educational system that encourages young men and women to understand speech with which they disagree as a form of violence that justifies their own violence. That's a big breakdown in our system, and I have to report it begins now before college. Students are coming to college with an ignorance of and hostility toward freedom of speech.
Yeah, I mean there was a survey we talked about last week. 1 in 5 undergrads think it's okay to use violence to quell offensive speech. And so, I mean, do you sense? Gosh, I don't know. That combined with like the incidents at Middlebury and Berkeley, that some of the left-wing professors, part of the academy, are starting to get a little bit chastened by what they have unleashed?
That's an optimistic read.
Yes.
I would be more optimistic myself if I heard more professors, especially from the fields of political science and law, where you would expect they would appreciate these truths, especially if they were standing up in defense of freedom of speech, if they were taking initiatives to actually stage more debates, especially in light of the violence and disruptions on campus. As you pointed out, Heterodox Academy is a good sign, but I think in response to the terrible events of the last 9 months of 2017, Middlebury, Evergreen State, Berkeley twice, other colleges, I think we need a great deal more. And again, the point here is not to go in the other direction and advance some kind of conservative politicization. I want a range of voices to be heard. And one other element that's really important, which I don't regard as either right or left, that is an essential part of any liberal education, which is an education for freedom, is teaching the principles, the moral, political, economic principles on which the country is based. The same survey that you were referring to tells us that something like half of all students think that the First Amendment doesn't protect hate speech. The First Amendment does protect speech that some people regard as hate. That kind of ignorance among our students is extremely dangerous, and I blame their teachers for it.
Mm. He is Peter Berkowitz, columnist, author, and senior fellow at the Hoover Institution. The piece that we were referencing, What's the Point of a Liberal Education? Don't Ask the Ivy League, which is in the Wall Street Journal. Peter, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a